Hi everybody and welcome to this week's Procurement Stories, and I'm really grateful to Phil Eldridge for joining us today. So Phil is from a business called Secure Business Advisors, and he's going to tell us his procurement story. So to start off, I'm going to ask Phil to tell us about his business.
Hi, good afternoon, Shauna, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for this opportunity. I'm delighted to take part in this streaming interview. Basically, I'm a business consultant. I'm based in Bishopbriggs, just north of Glasgow, and I set up my business in 2012, initially as an interim, and then I transferred it over to become more of a consultancy business in 2017. Things I work for small, medium-sized businesses. The areas that I look after are things like strategy and planning, operational delivery, customer service excellence, change management, and continuous improvement. And it's all about trying to make those businesses as effective and as efficient as possible.
So it sounds like you've got a lot going on.
It's busy, and I'm giving a lot of advice right now to a lot of small businesses. We've all got the struggles of lockdown and the economic pressures that's created. So I'm doing a lot of free of charge discussions, and I've got a couple of clients that I'm working with at the moment, and I'm giving them work on things like strategy, goals, and longer term planning, particularly around about how they're going to emerge successfully from the economic lockdown, and again looking at businesses to try and solve problems that they had prior to lockdown that might hinder them even more so during and after the lockdown. So a lot of problem solving and a lot of help and support being provided to businesses at the moment.
Yeah, right. So I'd asked you we discussed about doing this because you've grown your business by selling to the public sector. So how did you first find out about selling to the public sector?
Well, it's a little bit of a long-winded story, but I'll try to make it as brief as possible. When I rewrote my business plan in the middle of 2017 to look more at consultancy than interim management, I actually 100% disregarded public sector. Looked purely at 100% of my business was going to be from private sector. And the reason for that was I'd always been in the private sector. I'd never worked in the public sector. And I just thought that I culturally and for other reasons, I just wasn't the right fit. And even though people said, but public sector use a lot of consultancy and they do a lot of contracting work. And I thought, well, do you know what? That's not for me. And I wrote my business plan all around all my customers being private sector. And actually, I even went as far, Sean, to say that my biggest competitor was actually the public sector. So organisations like Scottish Enterprise and Scottish Manufacturing Advisory Services have consultants and have people working within them that do things that are very similar to what I do. So actually, in my business plan, I wrote all about how I was going to try and differentiate and compete against the public sector. And I relaunched my business with that sort of mindset. And then someone contacted me completely out of the blue after a little bit of communication. He said, Phil, you're a perfect fit for public sector, which was a bit of a surprise considering that I hadn't even considered it. In fact, I'd completely dismissed it. And he said, you're a perfect fit for helping to deliver the large frameworks that Scottish Government in particular issues related to business improvement, continuous improvement, lean, and problem solving. And I literally really didn't know much about what he was talking about. What he basically did is he pointed me to one particular framework which had been awarded that he was aware of, and he'd done some work in Aberdeen area on. And it was a 4-year framework all around about lean continuous improvement. And there had been 6 individual companies, medium-sized consultancy firms that had been awarded those elements of the framework. And what he basically said to me was, contact them because they'll be looking for expertise that you can provide to enable them to deliver the framework. And he reeled off really quickly the 6 companies that he knew about. And what I did then is I did the research, found contact people, and I contacted all 6. 2 of them were very polite, but I didn't really engage in any depth. 2 had meetings with me, discussed, I was able to present all of my expertise and knowledge. They were very much of the view that they could use me when they needed to. Yeah. But 2 others, we had that really nice conversation. And within a matter of weeks, those 2 customers, or customers of mine, those 2 framework winners came back and said, Phil, are you available to do some work right now? And I basically started to work for them in their delivery of the framework. Mm-hmm. That was 18 months ago. And in those last 18 months, those 2 organizations have become my 2 biggest customers by a long way. And those 2 organizations have given me a tremendous amount of revenue. And so from completely disregarding the public sector, I've now learned the lesson that I can work for and on behalf of the public sector, but in a different way, slightly indirectly. Yeah. And the lesson that I learned is that actually I'm not working inside public sector bodies. I'm actually working for private sector companies that are getting funded support or program support from the public sector. So actually it fits nicely in the fact that I'm working in those sort of organizations where I feel like I've got a comfort and a background. Yeah. And behind the scenes, indirectly, I'm actually working for Scottish Enterprise, Scottish Manufacturing Advisory Service, and I'm also started to work directly for Business Gateway, particularly in East Dunbartonshire, where I've delivered workshops and expert help projects for the very smallest of the sort of startup and SME businesses. Mm-hmm. So it was really, I'm very thankful to Barry who gave me that tip 18 months ago, because it has led to a tremendous volume of work. And I've met some really interesting customers, done some really good projects without me, and I would have missed out on all of that if I hadn't been aware of how important it is to engage on the frameworks and engage with the framework companies that are slightly larger than me, that are winning the tenders for 2, 3, or even 4-year contracts. And there's a great amount of funding that goes from the Scottish Government into those frameworks to enable small businesses, medium business, to thrive and to improve. So it's been really interesting and a big learning curve for me, and I'm very grateful for all of the work that the public sector has ultimately provided to me.
Yeah, it's really interesting that the public sector you're completely written off and thought of as your biggest competitor, and in a roundabout way they're actually your biggest customer now.
It is, and the other thing that was really interesting was the amount of reputational success it gives you, the amount of credibility, and the amount of and it's a strong reference point. When you're able to say that I work for and on behalf of various public sector organizations in the delivery of what I do, people do notice that, and they do take note of that. It's nice to be able to say, I help to deliver the Business Improvement Academy that's funded by Scottish Enterprise. Yeah. It gives you that. There's a credibility, there's a level of quality that if you're working within in that environment, then you have an expertise and you have the ability to deliver. So having those as references, again, just adds more to my business. It's given me a tremendous amount of visibility. Putting on workshops for East Dunbartonshire Business Gateway has enabled me to talk to audiences that perhaps would have taken me weeks or months to get in front of, but being able to deliver a high value workshop to that audience for Business Gateway enables me to reach that audience. And then you get the word of mouth, you get the referrals, and you get all of the positivity that comes from that 3-hour workshop that you deliver, or the or the 1.5-hour webinar that's coming up towards the end of June that I'll be doing. So those opportunities to get in front of private sector companies is provided by the public sector medium. It is really something, as I said, just wasn't aware of it, wasn't focused on it, and that 4 years ago, and now it's become the real heartbeat of my business, and my business growth will in some way be on the back of those sort of relationships that I've built, as well as doing my own direct marketing and my own direct work to bring on my own direct customer base. I've always got those strong relationships that I've built within the public sector bodies, but also those clients that I worked for. And that's going to give me real opportunities in the next 18 months to 3 years to grow my business. So, as I said, the credibility, the reference point of working for and on behalf of the Scottish Government is really a powerful thing to be able to have on your CV and on your marketing materials.
Mm-hmm. So you said you identified the providers of the bigger frameworks. So how did you go about doing that?
Well, I did my own digging, and it takes time, unless someone like yourself, who I would consider to be the go-to person and the expert that I use. And we've had this conversation where, you sort of, we had that conversation for half an hour, and you understood in detail types of keywords or the types of attributes that I have, and the types of topics that I have experience and expertise in. And those words, things like lean, continuous improvement, business improvement, strategy, operational delivery, customer service, change management, all those keywords we generated together. You were able to then sort of start to plumb them into your searches. And I remember you went away, and suddenly within about 2 hours back came a very detailed spreadsheet that you'd been able to pull down from the databases, which basically highlighted not just the frameworks I'd already found, but a whole other number of frameworks that had been awarded over the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And that database was enabling me to really narrow my search, really narrow my prospecting, to looking at the names and addresses of the companies that are winning the work. It's public. It's in the public domain. So that enables me, rather than just randomly trying to contact 50 or 100 Scottish-based consultancy companies to say, "Are you doing work for the Scottish Government?" That spreadsheet you provided me enabled me to see, in the areas of my interest, who had won what and when, how long the contract was lasting. But I then had the name and the address and the contact details of those organizations, which meant suddenly my research was really narrowed, and I was able to make contact with those companies. As I said, 6 of them I'd already found. I found others, and I'm slowly but surely building up those relationships to enable me that they will feed work to me, or the next time that they tender and hopefully are successful, that I'll be an associate of their tender, if you like, so that if they win, I win. So that efficiency of being able to, with a couple of word searches from yourself, been able to dump down a database which really narrowed it, was a real time saver, and has been a real benefit. And the second thing is, obviously now I'm more familiar to what to look out for. And now the fact that I'm registered on the database means that they ping me, usually on a Friday afternoon for some reason, they ping me all the public notices that come directly out, and I can quickly look through and identify if something I'm of interest. Mm-hmm. And you in the past have been able to feed me expiry dates of frameworks that are then going out for tender, award notices that enables me to just build this database and build the relationships that I need to enable me to build those really valuable connections. And the other way, it's also given me the confidence to see that actually public sector spends money with businesses like mine.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than just dismissing it and saying, I'm a small consultancy firm, how could I possibly work for the public sector? It's now really very clear that businesses like mine are winning work from the public sector on a daily, weekly basis. And it's an opportunity for me to tap into that source of work. So some of the public notices that you've sent me that I've maybe missed and said, Phil, would this be of interest to you? Has let me understand in more detail exactly what I need to prepare in terms of method statements and documentation. But it lets me see what's going on and what's going on out there. And I think in the future, forming a partnership of me and other like-minded individuals, and forming a partnership, we might be able to go and tender not only for the small projects, but some of the bigger projects, the six-figure sum projects, where the partnership that I would form with other people would enable us to deliver an excellent service, and we would have an opportunity to tender for stuff that I would literally have never thought of 2-3 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there was two ways we approached that. So the first, we did a quick keyword search on Public Contract Scotland, because we identified Scotland as being the kind of key area you wanted to be working. And we pulled a few things from that. But I think the kind of more valuable bit from that for you was identifying that Scottish Enterprise would potentially be a key customer. Mm-hmm. And then from that, then pulling the contract register off, which you got an Excel format, and you were able to quickly say, right, social media, that doesn't apply to me. Taxes, that doesn't apply. So quickly you were able to whittle it down. And you ended up with quite a small number, and then from there you were able to see from the contract register who'd won the contracts, so potentially who you should then be contacting.
Yeah, it was the efficiency of the search which was really highly beneficial. And again, I discovered some of these people already, but some of them were completely new businesses to me. And it was the time saving. But it also gave me the confidence, as I said earlier, the confidence to look at these businesses and go, well, they're not that much bigger than me. They're not that much different from me. So rather than, walk the streets of Glasgow knocking on all the small businesses and all of the small private, medium to small, medium enterprises, actually it's been able to knock at a fewer doors and be much more efficient at my sort of lead generation and my prospecting. So yeah, it has become a major part of my business, and will continue to be a major part of my business while I develop my other relationships directly with clients that I'm finding through my own marketing and branding. But being able to be associated with some of the larger companies, and I am forming partnership. I have a regular monthly conversation with another Glasgow-based consultancy firm, and what's really interesting is they've decided to look at the Republic of Ireland. They see that as an opportunity. They've done some work on some of the tenders that have come out of the Republic of Ireland. So even just thinking beyond Scotland and the fact that there's opportunity. So that particular consultancy firm is very keen to involve me in the delivery of things that they've found. So you can look beyond that. And one of the companies I work for and have worked for the last 18 months has been successful at winning work in Jersey. They're based in Manchester, this particular company, and they're now, and have been for the last year, working in Jersey for the Jersey Development Board. And again, it was something that particular individual, Brian, had, because he'd got a lot of his work from public sector tenders, he saw it was very similar to what he did. He had all the materials available. He tendered and won something in Jersey, and that again has just opened up a geographic location he would never have thought of. So that's again a real eye opener to the possibilities. Now, okay, Jersey's maybe a long way away, but the Republic Island certainly isn't.
No.
And obviously when we get through this current situation, being able to get across over into the Republic of Ireland and deliver a project for the Irish government, or funded through the European government, is just, again, another element of my business growth that I can get. So it is, as you can probably tell, and your audience could probably tell, this has been a real revelation almost to me, and the possibilities are there. And I'm really excited about what I've already done and what I've already delivered. And some of the projects I've already done have really given me a lot of satisfaction, and I'm really looking forward to continuing with that, as I move my business forward over the next few years.
Yeah, which kind of brings me to my next question that you've probably, I think, well, you covered it, but just to give us an idea again, what's the selling to the public sector done for your business?
Well, it's manifold. Revenue. It's given me a customer base, and I've been able to invoice and get a lot of revenue from it. So that's crucially important. We're all in business to get the revenue. Yeah. So it's a really strong source of revenue. It's also, as I said earlier, it's given me relationships that would have taken me many, many years to form, or even relationships I would never have been able to find. So it's broken down some doors. So I do have some, relationships within Scottish enterprise that I would have found extraordinarily difficult to get through my own work. But being able to be introduced to people through these frameworks meant that I've built up some really strong relationships. And these relationships will be of great benefit to my business going forward. As I've also said, the visibility of my business is greater. And as I say, the reputation of my business in terms of a brand that delivers to high quality and has a high impact for those clients. Again, the reputation and the relationships are really, really important. And a confidence thing. Sometimes when you are working on your own, or you're a small organization, and sometimes it's difficult to think, can I do this? Yeah. Can I work on those big projects? Well, yes, you can. You just need the opportunities. And then once you've got those small opportunities, you can leverage them to build something, very quickly. And I really enjoy it. As you could probably tell, I set up my business to help business owners, to try and give them a little bit of my knowledge and expertise. So I really enjoy that, and working within the public sector, working for small startups in East Dunbartonshire, small businesses, and see them grow and thrive. Wow, that's an amazing thing. And it builds your confidence that I can do that and I can have a high impact. And if I get nice revenue from it, magic. It's amazing.
So finally, what tips would you give to others?
I think the relationship you and I have been able to develop means that, it can seem a bit of a barrier. There's a lot, but there's people like yourself out there that know the how to efficiently register yourself on the various databases. The supplier profile being very, very important. And I remember I wrote it and you proofread it and were able to tidy it up so that it was a much more professional looking document, because that just sits there on their database. So again, the know-how that you've been able to provide has saved me a ton of time. So the first tip I would say is of course, do it, investigate it, find some support from yourself and businesses like yourself to give you that know-how so you can get a quicker return. But I think it's all about giving it a try, and then you'll be amazed how much funding there is out there, how much the Scottish government and the UK government gives out on an annual basis to companies who are then looking for the delivery person. So sometimes businesses get funding to enable them to actually get people like me to do the work for them. So I think it's really important that the top tip is don't ignore it, give it a try, use some expertise to help you get through some of what you might perceive to be high barriers. They're pretty low actually. Yeah. And then once you have got some of that work, just keep building it. and keep building it, because it's a huge potential source of your business growth going forward. And I've never actually worked inside a public sector building. I've only ever worked for private sector. So
yeah,
that fit is really strong for me. I know I fit well in that environment, but it's working indirectly for the public sector. And that little bit, that revelation, that bit of information that came those years ago is just been is amazing. So don't discount it. Do not eliminate public sector. In fact, investigate it and really go after it in a lot of detail and be persistent. There's a lot of tenders out there. You can tender, and a lot of the time you and I have looked at stuff and we went, not really the right thing. But we know that there will be tenders that have come out that will be absolutely the perfect fit for me. And I'm very confident now that I'll be able to tender successfully for that going forward on my own back rather than through another consultancy.
Yeah, we've talked about things before that maybe aren't quite the right fit at the moment, but that then gives you, by understanding the contract, you know what you have to achieve, and then by having the right information, you also know when you should be achieving that by, so looking to when it's out for tender again. So that's really important, yeah. But you've got a clear pipeline of things you could be going for in the future.
Absolutely. I mean, the delivery of workshops, for example, was pretty low down my list of services that I providing those sort of just pure information and training was something that I was, as I say, it was well down my list of things that I thought I was going to be doing. It's really back up at the top now. So looking at what actually the public sector is looking for, and once you've understood that, you can understand and say, well, actually, I can do that. And if I just slightly tweak what I'm doing, tailor it in a different way, then you're much more successful at tendering. So the amount of knowledge that I've got enables me to know exactly, I hate to use the P word, but I'm going to use the word pivot, to pivot my business. I know it's a terrible word, to adapt my business, we should say, so that I'm actually providing the services in a way that actually the public sector, because do you know what? Actually, what the public sector is looking for is very, very similar to what the private sector is looking for. So once you understand exactly what the tender is looking to achieve, then you can tailor your business offering to that need, but that need is also transferable into the private sector. So that's really important lesson too.
Yeah. And by doing the workshops, you're actually getting to know lots of people and getting to know what's their kind of pain points, which then transfers to the other work you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a key part of your business marketing is to understand the needs of your customer. Yeah. And to understand that, and that changes over time as you get more knowledge, as you in business, you get to know and tweak the edges of your offering to make it absolutely in line with the needs of the customer. Yeah. To be able to do a workshop and of maybe 8, 10, 12 businesses, and to be able to understand and get a lot of detailed discussion during the workshop of what actually, why have they come to the workshop? What is their pain point? What are their needs? It helps you to refine your products and services to meet the needs of your actual target customers. Yeah. And to be able to get in front of your a lot of target customers in one room, and ask them a few questions over a cup of coffee is great market research. And it's, so again, the workshop, it's fun. I love delivering workshops. I love to pass on some of my knowledge and expertise to other businesses. But what I get back in return is lots of information that allows me to really understand who my target businesses are, what they need, and then match my services and tweak them and change them to meet the needs. So it's a perfect opportunity to get in front of a focus group of customers, if you like, and pick their brains a little bit and find out, oh, I'm offering something that actually is not needed, or maybe I need to tweak it because these 8 individuals all could possibly buy it, but not in its present shape and form. I maybe need to change it so that it meets their needs much more clearly. Yeah. And you could spend hours in front of the PC with a pen, trying to work out what your marketing message should be, what your product content should be. but standing in front of a group of customers delivering a workshop is a perfect opportunity to actually test that out and refine it. So again, there's many benefits that I've got over the last 18 months. This could go on for hours, but this discussion. But I love it, and I'm really grateful to the public sector work that I've got. As I say, it's really given me a lot of energy. It's given me a lot of revenue. It's given me a lot of confidence, and it's given me a real nice shape to my strategy of how I'm going to move my business forward. Again, so I just can't, recommend enough to just investigate and spend time looking at opportunities that you can get through public sector procurement.
Yeah. I actually find, just to blow my own trumpet, I can have a coffee with somebody and quickly identify if there is if there's opportunities there that they could potentially be going for or not. And a coffee, well, nowadays over Zoom costs nothing.
It's just a bit of time. No, there's so much. I mean, crikey, there's so much. You know better than I. The list of things that the public sector looks to tender is enormous. Yeah. I mean, huge. I mean, I spoke to a stonemason recently. It's not, you go to networking events and you meet a business you don't expect to meet, and a great guy is a fully time-served stonemason. And then you start thinking, there's an awful lot of public buildings. You just think of Glasgow, an awful lot of public buildings in Glasgow that were built many years ago, and they need a skilled stonemason to actually do repairs and maintenance on them, and clean and things like that. So that's an enormous opportunity for that business. And he's taken that a step forward, because he's then thinking, well, who else has got old buildings made of stone? Well, it's the churches. Mm-hmm. So he's now using that to approach a lot of church organizations to say, your building is made out of the materials that I'm skilled at repairing and maintaining. Here's my business card, here's my offering. And he's picking up an awful lot of work. But that's just taking one example and then moving it into another sector. Yeah. So it's an amazing, it makes you think, it gets you on your toes, but there's plenty of opportunities out there for every business. So you should ask the question, and don't do what I did in the middle of 2017, is to completely write public sector off and actually see them as a competitor. And if you can't beat them, you might as well join them.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Not at all. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
So thanks very much, Phil. Phil is one of the nicest men that I know, and he's been so useful to me, so helpful to me through my business. So I would recommend connecting with him. Which people can connect on LinkedIn. I can put the...
Yes, I'm taking baby steps on Facebook, but yes, I'm LinkedIn as well, where you'll find me, and I do have a website too, which if you want to have a quick look at too. But yeah, if you want to connect with you on LinkedIn, then that would be absolutely brilliant. So thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity, Shauna.
Thanks for the prod. It was Phil that suggested I do this, and it is a great opportunity, and I'm really grateful that he was my first guest. So. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thanks very much. It was a pleasure. Thanks very much. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, and join us next time. We're going to have another one in 3 weeks. So I'll speak to you all then. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.